All right, everyone, welcome to this video on graphing linear inequalities. I am doing this on my iPad, so I think the writing's going to be a lot neater. Hopefully the microphone is recording okay. So we need to graph these linear inequalities. They're inequalities because they have inequality symbols on them, right? So my goal here is I'm going to walk you through questions 1 and 3. And then turn it over to you to do the rest of the front side here. And then we'll do some more notes for the back. So let's dive in here. I have y is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 4. And so we're going to take a same approach as we would graphing just a regular linear equation. There are two parts. There is a slope, m, and there's a y-intercept, b. And so this is in nice y equals mx plus b format, and so I know the b is always the constant. It's always the number by itself, is 4. And I know that the slope, which is always the coefficient to x, is negative 3. And since I generally prefer slope to be a fraction, I can write it as negative 3 over 1. And so I'm going to graph this line right here. I'm going to start at 4, right, on the y-axis because it's the y-intercept, right? The y-axis has to start on the y, or the y-intercept has to start on the y-axis. And then my slope tells me what the constant rate of change is. Remember, this is the change in y over the change in x. Some people call it rise over run. But for here, it's negative 3 over 1. And so this means I need to go down 3 along the y-axis and then over 1. So I go down 1, 2, 3 over 1. All right. And this, I only need 2 points to make a line, but this pattern does continue forever. It's a constant rate of change. So I go down 1, 2, 3 over 1. Down 1, 2, 3 over 1. Now with inequalities, this is not just the same as making a line. I have to decide if it's going to be a solid line. Let me show you. I'm going to write it in blue. A solid line, which is what we've been doing, looks like this. Or if it's going to be a dashed line. Dashed lines look like this. Dashed lines mean that the actual line is not included in the inequality. So a point that lies on the line, if it's dashed, is not included. So here, I know it's a solid line. Solid lines because I have the equal sign with it. This equal sign right here tells me to do a solid line. So I'm going to connect these points into a solid line right here. And now I have to decide if I'm going to shade above or below this line. I'm going to keep writing some notes here. If it's a greater than symbol, shade above or up. If it's a less than symbol, shade down or below the line. And so this is a greater than symbol, so I'm going to shade above the line. And I'm shading this in, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully you don't. And there we go. We have graphed this linear inequality. But I want us to understand what this means. This means that any point that is on the line, because it's a solid line, or in the shaded region, would satisfy the inequality. So let's say I pick this point right here, that blue point. I'm going to call it A. A definitely satisfies the inequality, right? Let's say I have another point here, B. B definitely satisfies the inequality. It's in the shaded region. But point C right here does not satisfy the inequality because it's outside the shaded region. Neither does point D. Point E, let's put a point right here. It is on the line, and this is a solid line, so it is included. I know I'm giving you extra information here, but this is just important to have this conceptual understanding, right? Okay, so I'm going to clear this out now, and we're going to go over number 3 together. Remember, don't just copy what I'm writing down, because eventually you have to do most of this worksheet by yourself. Make sure you're listening and learning. All right, I'm on number 3 now. Number 3, see it's y is greater than negative x minus 5. So I'm going to write this as, well, this is in y equals mx plus b. I need to find my slope and my y-intercept. So m equals b equals, b here is negative 5, the constant. And what you'll notice here is there's no coefficient to x. There's just a negative here. Anytime we don't have the coefficient, there is an invisible 1 there. And so slope is negative 1. And we get negative 1 over 1 when I convert it to a fraction. And so now I can graph this. I'm going to put my first point here on negative 5. All right. And my second point, well, my rise over run here, or my change in y over the change in x, I go down 1 over 1. And I'm only, given the space I have here, only able to do 1. But if you really want to have an in-depth understanding, we can also go backwards, because m is negative 1. It doesn't matter if the negative is on the top or bottom. So this could also be go up 1, backwards 1, up 1, backwards 1. Right? You can see how you can see the constant rate of change here, right? And I can before I connect these points, though, I was just about to connect them. I need to decide, am I using a dashed line or a solid line? Remember, this is just a regular greater than sign. This is greater than or equal to, right? I'm going to label these greater than, and this is greater than or equal to. And so what this means, this does not have an equal sign. So these include, if there's no equal sign with it, I'm just going to do a dashed line. If there is an equal sign with it, if there's a solid line below the greater than sign, then I need a solid line as my line. So this is a greater than sign. There is no equals. So I'm going to connect these with a dashed line. So it might look something like this. Right? You see how it's not perfectly connected? All right. So by having this dashed line, I'm being very clearly communicating that the line is not included. Because it's a greater than symbol, I shade up. I know we're not getting an example here where it's a less than symbol, but you will see those. So make sure you know if it's a less than symbol, you shade down. I'm shading above the line here. And there we go. All right. You can think of points that would be inside or outside the line from here. All right. I think that's it for the video. You're going to pause, or I guess the video's over, and you're going to do questions 2, 4, 6, and 5 on your own. And then you're going to, and 8. And then we're going to go over number 9 together in the next video. All right, y'all, get started.